We discovered these gorgeous hand-painted wooden bowls at an artisan craft show at the D.M. Hunt Library in Falls Village. We just had to meet the talented artist Shaari Horowitz and her husband Alistair Jones, who carves the wooden bowls by hand. So it was off to beautiful Sharon, Connecticut.
So basically we make wooden bowls among other things. Sometimes we do them out of mahogany, depending on the orders, sometimes out of pine. They're hand cut using various tools. Sometimes I use a saw on the back to speed things up, usually by hand. I'll start cutting one if you like, see how it's done. How to do it. I'll mark there here. If we start out laying them out so we know the shape we're going to cut. Then basically it's just start to hollow it out. Keep going down till you get a depth that you're looking for, usually about 3/8 of an inch before the bottom, because you don't want to cut through.
Right.
And you want to work with the grain so that it doesn't tear too much. You turn the lens, so I usually walk around it, turn it around so you can stay there. Pine is a softer wood, so this is quite easy. But if I'm doing a mahogany one like this, which is much harder, I'll use an adze, and I'll cut some of it out like this. Back onto this, but that'll speed it up doing it with the adze. And you get to a point where you want to start getting finer cuts, so you start with a chisel. The important thing is keep your tools sharp. You'll start checking your depth. I have somewhere. Make a template so that when you get to, you can start to follow it, so you can see how much more depth you need. Just for a different size bowl. That's actually for this one. Anyway. It starts to take shape. You go with smaller cuts just to clean everything up. Okay, it starts to be an idea how it starts. And then to do the other side, once you get to the shape you want, everything's out and cleaned up, you flip it over. Let's do it this way. There it is. Shaping it back. It goes a little quicker. You get to this shape, so you get the even thickness, and you start working on the ends.
Yeah. What's the advantage to doing it manually as opposed to using an electric?
I haven't found a quicker way of doing it. Some woods work well with machinery, but others work well with old-fashioned hand tools. Sometimes the mahogany, the grain changes direction quite often on a way around as you go through the growth rings. So that's sometimes better with with electric tools. But the pine he cuts easily, as long as your tools are sharp, it doesn't take any longer, and just better control as well.
Good. Thank you.
So what I'll usually do is I'll take it up onto the bandsaw and cut this around the shape I'm looking for, then round the back off. Do you want me to take it over the bandsaw? Show you a cut? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what. Okay, you pick a line and mark your line around where you want to make your cut. It's a bit out of there. Better. This part's quicker on the saw. Go back and start on this end. You transfer your line back over my pencil. So somewhere in the middle here, pick up a line that's going to be something like that, so that corresponds to that line there as well. I'll do it this way so you can see what I'm doing. Basically it's the same process on the end. Tidy up some of the cuts. But that's basically it. And then it goes upstairs to Shaari and she stains them and paints them.
Where did you learn how to do this, Al?
Watch somebody else doing it. I thought I'd give it a try. And Shaari's been painting bowls for years and years, and she was looking for different shapes and odd shapes. Turn bowls are different, they're done on a lathe. These are all hand cut, pretty much. There you can't do them on a lathe. So I learned to use the hand tools. I like using the old hand tools. It's good steel, as long as you keep them sharp, they're fine. Yeah, I do other things as well. I do long bows, behind you.
Oh, wow.
I make these. I'm a furniture maker by trade. So
you're what?
I'm a furniture maker by trade.
Oh, can I just mosey around the shop?
Yeah, sure. See what else we're doing. We make these. Let's take it up on the bench up here. And she teaches a class, and they make little tiny
how cute
things to go in the drawer. And these will be pin cushions, and they lift up. That one's stuck. And she makes stuff to go in these. And this is another one we've been doing as well. This is what I'm working on now. This folds out as a table. It folds out, and there'll be a little fabric bag hanging in there. It's kind of dusty. Everything's dusty in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little bag hangs in there. She puts all kinds of embroidered stuff in the bag.
Nice.
And this is the beginnings of 25 of them. So it's 100 of these legs, and then the flaps, and the inside here there's a pin buried in there to use as a hinge, so that you can hinge it. We couldn't find a hinge small enough, so we came up with that.
Huh.
Seems to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Cool.
what else do we do? There's more legs over there. There's two more. These are two more that she does. She teaches the classes. This gets hinged in two parts, so it stands up like a sailor's valentine, she calls it. And this one she calls it an envelope box, but took the bottom out of this one.
Nice.
We left the bottom out because she wants to work on the inside from the bottom. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we've been doing this, set up this barn they built in the 1800s, and we converted it, put the sheetrock in and insulation and some electricity.
When did you do that?
25 years ago. So we've been here for 25 years doing this. Yeah, keeps us busy.
I love your workshop. It's
Yeah, it's a little crazy in here at the moment. We've got so much going on. I think we've got 25 of these things. I've got 35 of something else. We just shipped out 15 of these for a class. I think she taught the class last weekend. And she's always coming up with new ideas, different things we do. So she finds things in antique books and magazines and antique stores, and we reproduce them smaller, so that she can make them into for her classes for the sewing. Yeah, the detail in the sewing is incredible. It's like almost like the painting.
yeah. Yes, it's nice.
Yeah, these I turn on a lathe, little tiny knobs.
Wow.
You had to get a smaller lathe. The other one was too big.
Very nice.
Okay. Okay, I'll just go upstairs and show you what Shaari does with the painting.
Okay, sure.
And that's an older bowl that we kind of gave a little TLC to, and I painted on them. And I do a lot of that because Al's a busy man, and I love the older bowls have a lot of character to them before I even start. So we use a lot of the older pieces. I have a bunch of them all along there too that I collect. Sometimes I don't even want to paint them because they're so interesting on their own.
Yeah.
But what we'll do, the process after I get the bowl from Al, is I will sand it down and I will stain the rim and the outer portion of the bowl. And then he and I both spray them with protective clear coat finishes. Then I get them back and I put a primer on them. And the primer is the first coat so that the next coat of the base coat of the paint doesn't just seep right into the wood. After I do the primer, I put base coats on, which are usually single solid colors. And then on top of that, I start layering my designs. For instance, in this piece, I started with a cream base coat, and then on top of that, I put a wash of this yellow ochre all over it. Then I came back in and did some of this terracotta, horticolor. And I'll do, depending upon the piece, I'll do these bands of color. But I usually start, when I do my decorative work, I'll find the center of the bowl, and then I'll take a compass and I'll do my bands. this part is the gilding, and that's a gold leaf, and that is a type of a metal that actually is gold, and it's flattened pieces of gold that are so light that they would float on air.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
People use them, sometimes they wrap chocolate candies in them because they make it, there's edible gold leaf, but it's a whole process to lay that down. I use something called a size, which is something like this, and I very carefully put it down so that it's nice and smooth, and then I wait for it to dry, wait for it to come to tack is what they call it, and I use my knuckle and I put my knuckle down and I pull away from the sizing, and I listen for a type of a sound, like a little rip, and I know then that it's not too wet and not too dry. And then I take a piece of this leaf and I very gently float it over here, over where the sizing is, and then I'll burnish it down. After that, I use a process with two different types of chemicals for patination, so it doesn't stay gold. It's two different chemicals that change the gold so that it softens it a bit. It brings out some other metals in it. You can see it never comes out the same, and it just gives it a little bit less of a harshness, I think. And then after that, I start painting my designs.
Wow, your work is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So delicate and exquisite.
It's just it's a long process, because when I paint any kind of a swirl, and I'll do one here, although it's not quite what the design I think I'm going to keep, but I'll start it to give you an idea. When it comes to painting this, a lot of it is about the fluidity of the paintbrush, and just a lot of time and patience and experience. So I'll start, and I'll try and get this fairly even. I kind of hope that when I finally it meets in the right place. Doesn't always happen that way, but
You're going to go all the way around?
I go all the way around. I risk it. So that's how I do this. And then I might come back in and start a leaf pattern. So I might go back around and just repeat. The black paint that I use is a flat paint, so it's not as forgiving as far as sliding colors on top of it, but I'll just keep going around to get a sort of a pattern. And but this is usually after I've done many little lines, like in there. And that's kind of the process. And with this piece, what I'll do is I'm going to paint a moth like this in the center of the gold. So I was a mural painter when I started out. And
Is that right?
yeah, so again, this is like going from working very large to working small. And that's basically what we've been doing, and I show this work. I show the bowls I've been showing for 20 years. I show them all over the country. I've done many outdoor, indoor shows, the Philadelphia Museum of Arts and Crafts show, and Basically, just traveling the country, you know, setting things up and making them available to folks who might like to own one.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. And I think that is coming to, that time in my life is coming to an end. And I think I'll be doing some things closer to home for the most part. It's one of the good things that has come out of COVID. It's made me realize that I don't have to travel around and be away from home so much. As fun as it can be, it's very wearing and very tiring. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be home, working at home, and being near my husband more often, and trying some new things, getting started in some new adventures. So that's basically that's what you have here.
Good. Good.
The patterns tend to come from, you know, like I think about, I look at a lot of Korean lacquerware and medieval manuscripts, and I love, you know, oriental carpets and rugs, different types of patterns, Paracas material from the, you know, all different places. I like texture, I like color, so
Good.
yeah,
Good.
that's about.
Well, thank you, Shaari.
Sure.